What's up, guys? Well, I'm finally back. I spent some time on the road over the last couple weeks. First off, made it down to Lawrenceburg, Indiana for the Whiskey City Rodeo. And straight out the hop, I gotta say, big props to Olin Clausen and the entire team at LMU for the work that they did and put into that rodeo. What they have going on there, if you guys haven't been, is something fantastic. I think Olin said that they tripled in size over the last year, since last year. I think they've been at this for about 3 years, and it's one hell of an event. Seriously, met so many awesome people there, had such a good time. They put on just one heck of a show. And yeah, super good props. There's only a handful of people in this industry um, driving it forward when it comes to recognition of the trade and giving the trade and the men and the women with boots on the ground, like those guys, the line guys, the line people, um, giving them the recognition that they deserve and pushing us forward in that way. And Olin's definitely one of the guys that does this so well. All those guys at LMU, they're driving the trade forward. They're gaining recognition for what we do. Like I don't quite think that people at the top end of our industry, the ones that wear the suits and take care of the business side of what we do, quite understand the grassroots and the level that we are. One example of this is so the next week. So I went to Whiskey City, and then from Whiskey City I went to San Diego, California, and Quanta puts on a an event called the Utility Perspective. So they gather representatives from the utility industry all over North America, and these aren't just basic representatives. These are presidents and CEOs or senior vice presidents, like pretty big names of all the major utilities across North America come to this event, and it's about a day and a half to 2 days, and they create these panels. So they'll have four or five people, moderated by an individual, that kind of gives an interview. It's an interview type situation. So they ask a question, or the panel might be on a certain topic, say distribution, transmission. Had one on 5G, like topics from the industry. And they give these representatives on the panel a chance to speak about these topics from their perspective, from where they're located or what they're dealing with, and it gives you a good generalized overview of the nation, like the country or the continent, pretty much North America, what's going on in the utility industry. One of the things that I witnessed and I paid attention to was across most, I'd probably say 75% of the panels talked about resources, and not necessarily resources at the upper end, but it's the boots on ground resources, whether it was in gas or electric. We're having a problem out there right now, and you guys know this, you guys see it. We're having a problem with resources, getting enough guys to do the work, and and yeah, sorry, and or maintaining enough guys to do the work. You see them moving around the country. They're moving to California, or they're moving wherever, chasing the work. It's what we've always done, but there's a real shortage everywhere we look of men and women to do the job that we do. One of the ways I think that we can, get more resources is I would love to see our military personnel, when they make their way back from serving our nation, and find their way back into the civilian world, if that's what they choose, that they find their way to what we do. Like, what better people out there than our servicemen and women to do what we do, like the boots on ground stuff. Like, look at them. They're coming back with leadership skills. They're coming back with probably trade skills for the most part. They've either, worked in aviation or worked in some technical, things like mechanics or heavy duty equipment, or, whatever it is that they've been a part of while they've been serving your country and trained in. They can bring those skills back, but they have to find our trade. So that's why I'm tying it back to, what Olin's doing, what I'm trying to do with this podcast and other things is raise awareness of our trade and what we do, because it's the best one out there. It's the best job in the world. I know all of you that do this job, there's probably very few of you listening to this that dislike the job. It is something that you become a part of. When you start doing it, it becomes more than just a job to most. It becomes a way of life. It becomes a passion and a brotherhood / sisterhood. When you're in it, you're in it. And, we're trying to reach these people. It's kind of one of the questions I ask most guests when I bring them on is, like, how did you find the trade? How did you find line work? I'm always curious, because it's usually like my path, where I found it because my father was a lineman and owned a power line company, and it's something I was just kind of born into. It's either that or it's others. They just stumble across it, and that's how they get into it, and they realize, wow, this is amazing. So anyway, what I'm getting at, guys, is I'm saying big props to Olin and the Whiskey City Group, and keep pushing our trade forward. Keep sharing our stuff. Take this podcast, take every Instagram page and share it to all your friends. Tell them to share it to their friends. Screenshot this episode at the point where you like, make some notes on there, post it to your IG stories, tag me so I can post it on mine. I keep pushing it out there. Let's do what we can to push this trade forward, drive this trade out there, drive awareness of what we do. That's how we're going to make a difference. So anyway, without further ado, let's get on to the guest of this episode. While I was in Lawrenceburg, I was able to sit down with Kylee Bott. Super cool dude. Guess what? He's ex-military, he's a lineman, and he's also an entrepreneur. I think you're going to love this story. So yeah, let's jump right into it. Peace, guys. Kylee, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Dude, I know it's kind of put you on the spot here. We are currently at the Whiskey City Rodeo in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. And I was walking through the vendor section, met this guy. He's Beauty makes killer signs. And I'm super stoked that you said yes to coming on the show and talking a little bit about yourself and what you've been up to and what brought you to making signs and becoming a lineman and military history and all that kind of good stuff. So maybe start off by just letting us know where you're from, where'd you grow up, and where's home?
Yeah, so I'm from Tilton, Illinois. It's a small town in central Illinois. I was born and I wouldn't say raised there, but till about 4th grade I lived there. And then my father was in with Walmart, and so we kind of did a little traveling, and I ended up in Plano, Illinois, which is it's another little town up, I would say a suburb of Chicago. And then I graduated from there and went on to the military, and that's kind of where my military story starts.
What's growing up in Illinois like? Like, describe the state a little bit. I'm a West Coast, British Columbia guy. Like, mountains, the plains, we got a little bit of everything. Tall cedars, right to flatlands. Yeah. What's it like in Illinois?
Cornfields, lots of cornfields. You know what though? It's not bad. A lot of people, when they think of Illinois, they're like, boring, flat. But you know what? I've lived here my whole life pretty much, and I enjoy it. The people are good. I really don't have any issues with Illinois. Uh, People complain about the taxes. The taxes are high. We always hear that.
Why are the taxes high in Illinois?
I Property taxes mainly.
Oh, yeah.
And I really don't have an answer for that. I don't know. I would say that has to do with up north, but
That's crazy.
yeah.
I was talking to somebody yesterday about housing prices, and I think it was Zeus Hawaii there talking about like what housing prices are like in Hawaii. He's like, single family home 700,000. And I'm like, Vancouver, British Columbia is 700 to $1 million for just a single home.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, so weird. That's funny that this trade. That's we all talk about that, and we were talking to SoCal guys yesterday, and they were telling us like their single family homes are 500, 600,000, and where I'm from, it's like, for example, like my house is around 150,000.
Yeah,
crazy,
right?
It's nuts, and but you see that, and then you see all of our pay scales, fluctuate,
Yeah.
and then you'll get guys, oh man, you make this much an hour, and we make this, but it all justifies itself in the end with the housing market.
Yeah.
So
that's one of the neat things about our trade too, is the ability to tramp around. If you want to tramp around, go make some money in a different state or a different country for that matter.
Yeah.
And see what it's like in a different area too, and come home and come back to Illinois with your big money from California or something. It's pretty good.
No, that is neat. That's pretty neat that our trade allows us to do that.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think a lot of our guys take pride in that. We take pride in our training, and some people wonder, man, how do you guys get to travel and get to do, that kind of stuff? And, I believe we all earn it,
Yeah.
We all go through that training, and that's just the luxury that we get.
Yeah.
And anyone can do it,
Yeah. Yeah, it just takes hard work. It's a hard trade to bust into in some areas. I don't know what Illinois is like, but back in Canada and in British Columbia, very difficult trade to bust into. There's just a small number of people doing it. Really just a couple thousand linemen in BC. And that's utilities, contractors, everything. Really makes it kind of difficult to get in.
Yeah, I would say in our state, in Illinois, it seems like the route that everyone's going now is the little community colleges, the tech schools. And I myself, I went to a tech school. I went to NL or ATC, which is North American Lineman Training Center, and that's how I got into it. And then, I also work for Ameren, Illinois right now. I push a crew for them. So, I mean, there's ways to get in, and I would say it's hard, but it's not hard. Sure. I just think you have to, take the right approach to it.
Yeah. I always tell, like, I get constant questions from young guys, like, what can I do, to get into the trade? Like, what do I got to do this? I'm like, separate yourself from the guy beside you. Like, do something else that's going to make you look better than the guy beside you. Yeah. They're like, well, what is that? I'm like, I don't know. You go find out for yourself. Like, is it going to some sort of electrical training school? Like, even if it's first year electrician course or something, or, take a level 3 first aid course or something where it gives you a little bump up in your first aid ticket, or go do some training that's relevant to the trade. Get a, class 1 driver's license so you can actually drive big trucks. And they're like, oh, that's good info. But it is like, that's,
It is, and a lot of people think they can just walk right into the trade, or they get upset because, utility or, some of these other companies won't hire them. But, you have to set yourself up.
Yeah.
You have, like you said, go get a CDL. Yeah. They call it CDL here. Sure. So go get a CDL, or go to one of these climbing schools, or start tree trimming. We have a lot of tree trimmers in Illinois that will, come over. Yeah. We call it coming over to us, basically. And you have to set yourself up. You have to sell yourself.
Well, you can get a lot of experience tree trimming, just even bucket positioning, truck positioning. Like, that's a big deal. The guy rolls onto site and your truck's already set up like you'd like it, and he can visualize that. He knows how to place that thing. Man, you're going to be more valuable to me than the next guy. I don't want to have to come tell you how to set up the truck. You should be able to figure that out. You know, working around electricity, working around power lines, even knowing what's what. Yeah, you can get a lot of experience from that.
Yeah, and even climbing.
Yeah.
I mean, they're
Oh man, they're good climbers.
Oh, they are, and I think in Illinois right now they're doing something weird with our guys, the tree trimmers, and I don't think they're allowed to wear gaffs anymore. Which
Oh really?
yeah, we just had a tree crew come out not too long ago, and the guy couldn't even wear gaffs. So I don't know if it's some
They just climbing ropes.
Yeah, just
wow.
a bunch of rigging, and I don't know if that's some safety policy they have now, but still, a lot of those guys know how to climb, and that definitely helps with our trade. That's what we do.
Yeah, for sure. No, and they're handy climbers. I once hired a guy, an arborist, just to come take down a couple trees in my front yard, just so I could watch him rig, because there were two kind of hazard trees, and I could have knocked it out myself, but I just really wanted to watch them. Man, it was so cool. We went up one tree, limbed it all the way up, tied his rigging at the top, swung to the next one, limbed it all the way up, and then, blocked that one, dropped it, blocked the next one. It was just cool. Spent the whole afternoon just watching him work.
Yeah, it's definitely an art, and I don't, to be honest with you, I don't want anything to do with cutting trees down. I'm good.
The rigging's cool, though.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is.
Ropes and wheels. That's what we like. Clicky things.
Yeah.
So high school, what was high school like in Illinois?
It was simple. I love sports, so I played football, I wrestled, and I played baseball. Good group of friends that we actually they all live up north still, and we all get together, as much as we can.
Sure.
But I have a good group of friends, and it's I don't know, it's good to have. You know how it is.
Yeah.
You have that one clique, and but high school was awesome.
You still close with them?
Oh, real close.
Ah, cool.
Yeah, we have a group of us that we get together, and our wives are all pretty good friends too, so that's neat.
Yep.
But yeah, good group of guys.
I found I really found that community for myself once I hit line work. I pretty much hit line work right out of high school.
Yeah.
But that community for me, that set of friends, like friggin' brothers, that was the guys in line work. That's the guys that are here now, still to this day. Yeah, that's cool. So, you talked, like you're saying you went in the military. Is this always something that you want to do even from a kid, or was it just something
Yeah, I kind of had, I don't know, I always kind of wanted to join the military. I've had, plenty of family members that were in the military. And then, obviously, 9/11, when that happened, I was in high school, and that was called, that just kind of upped it for me. Like, I was like, okay, I want to serve. So, actually, when I graduated, I had some hearing problems, so I couldn't really get in directly. So I had to take some loops.
Sure.
And so I went to I started college, and then my girlfriend at the time ended up getting pregnant. And so I decided, it's time to get a job. And so what I did was I joined the National Guard, and I got a waiver. And that was my way to get in the military.
Okay.
So, and then once I went to basic training in AIT, I came back home because, it's the, weekend warrior.
Yep.
And my unit I was in released me to go active duty.
Okay.
So basically I just went around to get into active duty.
Oh, wow. What branch?
So I was in the Army, and I signed up to be a diesel mechanic in the Army, and then I ended up being a recovery operator, which is basically like a wrecker driver, but just for combat.
Yeah.
So that's what I did in the military.
I always felt like that would be a pretty scary job, or could be, because wouldn't you kind of be like off on like who's got your protection, like what's the size of a unit you'd go out with? Like if you had to recover something, let's say, somebody drove off the road in a convoy or something, you had to go. Is that what you do? Like
yeah. So for example, like a unit size, we may have 100 say 100 soldiers in a unit, and then they break down to, like a platoon. So like we had our own platoon, which is basically the motor pool.
Yeah.
That's what we called it, which were our mechanics. And but for your question with the convoying and stuff like that, so usually when you're convoying, you might necessarily you may only have 2 mechanics on board, which were, say a recovery operator, which would have been us, and we would usually be in the back. And if something happened, for granted, you would have everybody that was in that convoy, which could be, anywhere from 10 vehicles to however many, and you got to think all the vehicles you have, you got Humvees, MRAPs.
Yeah.
So there's more than one person in every vehicle. There could be 4 people in a Humvee to say 8 in an MRAP.
So you're pretty good then. You got some protection.
You have, yeah. And everyone in the military too. It's just like our trade, your brothers and your sisters when you're in the military.
100%.
Yeah.
I was just bringing that up because I was listening to a podcast called Mic Drop the other day, and he's an ex-SEAL, and he had a female Apache pilot on their Gun Bunny Actual was her handle. But anyway, she was a mechanic prior to becoming a helicopter pilot.
Okay.
And she talked about that where she was at the last couple cars or something, and one drove off the road and the convoy kept going.
Oh, jeez.
And so she's out there like helping these guys. There was only like 6 of them. Try to get this thing back right-sided, up on the road, providing her own protection. I was just like, oh, man, that sounds crazy, waiting for a wrecker to come out and help. So that's why
usually,
it's probably a one-off case.
Usually, when you're convoying like that, I mean, obviously we have, radio communication, and, that's key. Now, different story if comms don't work, and then, you may be like blowing horns and everything else, but usually you're pretty protected.
You said you had some relatives in the service? What?
Yeah, so like I've had a couple of my grandpas were in Korean War, and then my brothers, one of my brothers joined, my sister joined. I was in the longest out of everybody, but yeah, just like I said, I've had family members and everything else in and out, and so yeah, it's pretty neat.
Wow. Where did you deploy?
So when I first joined, I was in Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and I did my basic training at Fort Knox, and then so at Campbell I was there for a few years, and then I'd say 2009 roughly. My dates are my life's just full, so my dates are a little rough, but I would say in 2009 was when I deployed to Iraq, and I did a tour over there, and
Whereabouts in Iraq?
I was in, so there's FOBs. Like I was in a FOB. It's called FOB Caldwell.
Okay. And
then like we flew into like Balad Air Base, which is a huge air base. The Air Force manned it at that time. And then there's so many little FOBs. Like I could say, a FOB name, and not a lot of people are going to know what it is or understand. They're just basically just little bases spread throughout the country. And, it's all for support,
Forward operating base, right?
Yeah.
Any crazy stories or things you want to share? We're going there.
Really in Iraq, we didn't really have a lot of crazy stories. It was kind of funny because when our unit got tasked to deploy to Iraq, they asked us to basically learn to purify water. And if you remember the movie In the Army Now, and they're purifying water. So I go to this training at Fort Story in Virginia, and we learn how to purify water and how to maintain like the generators and stuff on these mobile equipment. So really in Iraq, that's mainly what we did. We the foreigners out there, they would come in and bring tankers of water, and I'm talking some nasty swamp like water, and we would just put that in bags, and then we would purify it for them. Really, no crazy stories. There was a couple accidents that we were involved in. Like one night, there was a helicopter accident that we were involved in, which happened, 50 feet in front of us, and now, some stuff went down, but it, really, other than that, nothing too crazy.
Oh, that's good, man.
Yeah.
So you come back, one deployment?
Yeah, I did one deployment, and then I came back to the States, and I would say about a year later is when I decided that I was probably going to get out.
Yeah.
I had some, medical stuff going on at the time, and that's kind of how I started getting into the line work industry. So my brother worked for a company up north. It was ComEd, which is like
Okay.
basically Chicago's
Sure.
version of a utility. And he was an apprentice at the time, and he kept telling me about this trade, and I was on the verge of getting out, and I was like, man, I want to try that. I think I could do that. And then that's when I went to that school, the climbing school.
Sure.
And that's definitely how I got started.
How'd your brother get into it?
So at the time when my brother was in high school, his girlfriend at the time, her dad was a journeyman lineman in ComEd.
Okay.
So that's how he.
I love hearing the stories of how people find it, because so many people, as you probably know, just like, what is a power line even? Like, I had that the other day when these guys was talking to this lady, and she's like, what is it? What is a power pole? What do you mean? You know those poles you see around town that carry electricity? Oh, that's what you do? Like, yeah. So I'm always curious about how people find this job. It's either usually like a family thing, or people just like find it randomly. It's like, oh my God, it's the greatest thing.
Yeah. So when I was in high school, it was funny because my brother, or not my brother, sorry, my one of my close relatives, he actually came up and stayed with us, and we were like trying on all of his stuff, and we're like, oh, this is cool. And he was actually a lineman, and I didn't even know it until after I became a lineman and I actually started working for him.
Oh.
So like, yeah,
So you worked for him after?
Yeah. So when I first like started with Amber in Illinois, which I work for now, I worked for him on his crew, and then he became a crew leader, and I ended up working for him.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's dope. So you come back, you went to school, you said, and tell us a bit about that. Is it something you'd recommend going to?
Oh, yeah. A lot of people will say, oh, don't go to lineman college, you're wasting your money. And for me and my family, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Yeah. Like, when you're in the military, it's, the pay is not very good. Yeah. For the time you're there, it's not very good. And I'm not saying we were, really like poverty poor, but, we didn't have a lot of money. And so when I went to lineman school, I started applying for jobs. Because that's one big thing they do with these lineman colleges is they help guys
find jobs.
Yeah, find jobs, resumes,
That's cool.
And so the first company I worked for, I applied. I mean, I was sending emails after emails after emails. And the first company that called me was it's called Hendrix Electric. It's out of Clay, Kentucky. And so that's where I started working.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I liked what you said about resumes. I'll bring this up quickly. I work for Alltech Line Contractors. This is my day job. And I've been managing their resource department for almost 5 years now. So I've seen resumes come from linemen, and they're horrible.
Yeah.
Like, they're horrible. I'm not knocking you guys out there, but your resumes, you got to tidy them things up a little bit. A lot of them just like won't even have a resume or have like basic shit on there. And I'm like, you got to tidy this up and make it look neat. So I like how there's schools out there now teaching you too how to like make a proper resume.
Yeah.
And put something together.
Yeah.
Right?
And they do. And they basically break it down, and they're not, I wouldn't say they're the greatest, but they're better than what, these kids would probably come up with.
Yeah.
But luckily for me, my sister-in-law, I still use her all the time. If I'm thinking about applying for something else, she's always, tidying up my resume. But, that's something you should do. Yep. If you don't know,
find somebody to help
find someone to help you.
100%. Because it doesn't take a lot of work, and it is crazy important, I think. And it's like going back to those kids that keep asking questions about how do I get in? How do I get in? This is how you maybe get in, set yourself apart. Maybe it's going to cost you a few bucks up front. Yeah. But really, is it cheaper than university or college? Yeah, it's cheaper than that go to a line school and get
Yeah,
some
it definitely
education.
is.
You know, learn a little bit before.
Yeah, and I think I spent I bet I spent 9-10 grand at the time, and I mean you're gonna make that back instantly. Like, and you know it, I know
Like
it.
nothing.
You're gonna make it back, and that's why when people say, that's not worth it, I'm like, no, it is worth it.
It's
You know,
100%
look
worth it.
look where I'm at now. You
Yeah.
know, it's totally worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. It's cool. So you come back out, you're working now. What do you think? Like, what was apprenticeship like?
My apprenticeship, my first job, we were building a 161 line, and it was all steel, steel structures,
Yeah.
and
Like monopole type?
yes,
Yeah.
and then I'm climbing out of buckets because we have an extra 20 feet, and some of the equipment we have wasn't right for the job.
Yeah.
But it was safe what we were doing, just climbing up, having to tie phases in or armor rod, just stuff like that. And when I was an apprentice, I didn't know better. I was just doing whatever they were telling me to do, and we were in the back countries, UTVs and stuff,
Yeah.
doing all this work, and I really enjoyed it. I got to go on a lot of storms. I got to go, West Virginia, New York, Louisiana, Florida. Like I was all over with that company as an apprentice.
Yeah.
And all the guys that I work with at that company they were good guys. It was a really small company, but they were really good guys.
Cool.
Yeah.
You're a good shot to the East Coast too. So storms. What's the feeling around here when you see hurricanes coming in or getting storms? You kind of get that bittersweet kind of.
For me, like where I'm at now with the company I work for and stuff, like I enjoy my job. The only thing is we work for a utility, so when hurricanes hit, we're all like, "Oh man, it'd be awesome to go," but the reality of us going are slim. Sometimes they'll send one or two guys from a barn, and usually with the way your overtime list works, you may be on top or you may be on bottom. So you have to be really lucky to ever go on a hurricane.
It's probably got to be a pretty big wrecker too of a hurricane to get released.
For sure.
What other kind of work have you done? You get good mix of distribution, transmission?
Yeah, so when I first started in the trade, I'll kind of go into that a little bit because when I first started, when I worked in Clay, Kentucky, I did a lot of transmission and a little bit of distribution at first, but my majority of my apprenticeship through in Clay, Kentucky, which it was a non-union company at the time that I worked for, and then I applied for Ameren, Illinois, which is the company I work for now, and when I started with them, I started all over again, just because I hadn't topped out yet where I was, and so I started all over again, and went through their apprenticeship, which was IBW Local 51. That's where we're out of.
Okay.
And I did my apprenticeship there and learned all kinds of stuff. And now we do anything from distribution, overhead, and we do a little bit of transmission.
Okay.
But we do have a transmission department, so we may do like some 69 work.
Sure.
And then we have tons of underground.
Okay.
Yeah, we're becoming underground gurus, and
Sweet.
Yeah, so I work out of Champaign, Illinois, which man, it keeps growing and growing and growing. It will not stop.
What do you think of the underground compared to overhead? Just different, or do you have a preference?
No, I mean it's different. It's definitely different. I don't really have a preference. It seems like so I'm a crew leader where I'm at, and so I'm kind of low on the totem pole when it comes to that. So like I get a lot of the underground jobs, but I enjoy it, to be honest with you. It doesn't bother me any. It's different, and I think this trade is going that way.
Yeah.
Especially in our location, we have a big university, a University of Illinois, and a lot of people don't like to see the overhead stuff.
Yeah.
And then when you get like on campus, like we have just alleys that have overhead, and it's ratty.
It's gross. Yeah.
And our company is cleaning it up, and we do a great job of doing it. But just as well as I do that it's a lot of work, for just a barn to do all that. But
Tight, close corridors,
yeah,
too,
it's
back alleys.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There's no such thing as a pretty-looking overhead power line.
No, I
There is
mean,
to us, but
yeah, I mean there is when it's new,
Yeah.
but yeah, the old stuff, it's and like I said, our company does a good job with trying to get rid of all that. Yeah.
You said you were sitting here in Whiskey City at the
Yeah.
Whiskey City Rodeo. You said when we were walking over the truck that you've competed at the ILR.
Yep.
A couple times.
Yep.
Cool. I competed there once, and I've been 4 times. I think I really enjoy going there too.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, can't make it there this year, but maybe next. Maybe tell us a little bit about your experience at the rodeo. What was the first time like?
It's nerve-wracking. Every year it's so nerve-wracking. So like now when I go as a vendor, but before, like when I was competing, I was a nervous wreck.
Yeah.
Like I remember our first year, we didn't really do too hot.
Yeah.
But it was fun. At the end of the day,
It's about the experience.
it is about
unless you're practicing.
Yes.
I find you got to practice.
Yeah.
Or else.
And there's some teams that get to practice all the time, and we didn't really practice that much our first year we competed, and then our second year we competed, we practiced a lot more, and then we were like, let's just focus on being clean, because we're always worried about time and stuff, but we knew we weren't the fastest team. Like we knew we weren't going to win.
Being clean is huge there. Well, that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, and we found that out because we went clean that year, and we got, I think, out of maybe like 275 teams, we were like 150.
Oh, cool.
So I mean, we weren't.
Yeah,
and then the year before, we were almost dead last, and that's just because you get 2 10-point dings and you're on the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it doesn't take much at all, and it's quick.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
But the experience out there, and I bet this year I would say 300 teams, maybe, and then I think they have just as many apprentices. So just the atmosphere out there is it's crazy.
What's it like now being there as a vendor, and we'll get into talking about what it is that you're vending, but what's it like now being a vendor compared to being a lineman there?
Well, for one, I'm not nervous anymore. Yeah. Like I said, I used to be a nervous wreck, but now when I go out there, I go as a vendor, and also like I'm a brother still, I'm still like one of the guys in a way. And then, I always tell my story to some of these guys because they, they wonder, like, why are you making lineman signs or whatever. But I enjoy it. Like, as a vendor, it's fun. I get to mingle with a lot of companies and, I get to make signs for, like Southern California Edison, they jumped on board this year and did safety awards. And we did that for the company. And, you get to meet all kinds of people. I love it.
Where did you get this idea? So like you're a lineman and you're just like, I want to make metal signs. Like,
well, it all started in like 2010 when I was in the military still. So I wanted a sign for my garage, and I didn't have a lot of money, and I was like, I guess I'm gonna make a sign. So I bought a piece of wood at like Lowe's or Menards, I can't remember really, and I painted it. I put some tape on the outline, and I outlined it, and I bought a sticker, like a decal, and it was a Craftsman sign.
Yeah.
So I bought it for $30, the decal, and after I made it, I seal coated it, and I was, me and my wife were kind of talking. I'm like, I just paid $30 for this decal, and she's like, yeah, so and I'm like, I'm pretty sure I could buy a roll of vinyl for $30, and that's 24-inch by 10 yards or something, and she's like, really? I'm like, yeah. So then I bought a plotter, like to cut vinyl, and so that's how I got into making wood signs. I thought I could do it cheaper, and then I started making wood signs for a while when I was in the military, and then once I became a lineman, I had an idea. Like, I was like, I want a sign for my man cave. Like, I've always loved signs. Like, anything, old signs, new signs, I've always loved. And they got to be a quality sign. I don't like tin signs.
Quick story.
Yeah.
Quick story. Hip pause. I fucking love this because I started collecting signs with my old man probably 10 years ago. So service station signs and old cola signs and shit like that. His garage is now full of old pumps, old signs. and it's just so sweet. I love the old shit, the old porcelain stuff
Yeah.
that was baked, and that stuff has lasted the
Yeah.
test of time. Man, unless someone shot at it or threw rocks at it or
Yeah.
something, that shit's still like the colors there. And they're money. I just love them. This whole shop's full of them now. Like it's a museum. It's pretty cool. So yeah, continue. That's awesome.
Yeah. So and then once I became a lineman, I had this idea. I'm like, I want a lineman sign, and so I was kind of thinking, what am I gonna make? And then I'm like, I know what I'm gonna make. I'm gonna make an American flag with a lineman on it. That was my thing. So kind of back in the wood story, myself and my wife, we decided we were going to open up a rustic sign shop. So that's where KB Rustic Signs, which is our company, that's where that name came about. We actually opened a storefront in Tilton, Illinois, which was where I was born.
Cool.
And it's about 30 minutes from where I work. And the mayor there, basically they had a deal to where they gave me the lot for $1 and to build a business. So we built this business. And at the time, I was still doing wood signs. And then there's a guy that I met. His name is Joe Davis, and he owns a company called Photo Still Technology. And we became like great friends. I would say, me and Joe talk. Oh man, we talk all the time. Text, talk, email.
Cool.
And so I went to him and I was like, man, I want to make, this, lineman sign. And I wouldn't say he necessarily laughed it off, but he's like, all right, yeah, let's do it, make it. So I made it. And I designed it off of, it's actually designed, our first sign is actually designed off of a wood sign I made.
Okay.
And I took a picture of it. And then I put a vector file over it.
Yeah.
And then so we made this sign, and then everybody at work was like, hey, man, can I get one? And I'm like, yeah, I'll make you one, whatever. And then I decided, I was telling my wife, I said, man, I should put this online maybe and see what happens. So I put it online, and yeah.
Just like an Instagram account or something?
Etsy. I started off on Etsy.
Okay, yeah.
And then it's just started taking,
Did you notice
off.
right away on Etsy?
Yeah, so
how are you promoting it?
Yeah, so at first I promoted it on Facebook.
Okay.
I just did the Facebook, sponsorship or whatever.
Yeah.
And I had the one sign, and I started advertising. You can direct it on Facebook.
Yep.
So I was directing it to just linemen, geared towards linemen. And like I said, it just took off. And then I started adding more. And
so was it tough to keep up with producing these things, or is it something that you could still manage?
No, we definitely can manage. And the company that my buddy owns, he helps us out tremendously. Just because I'm full-time, lineman. So it was hard to, it's hard to do that. And, with, that company, like I said, Photo Still Technology, they've, done wonders for us.
Cool.
And helped us out. And, yeah.
So they help produce the image for you?
So I don't want to get too crazy into it because it's a long story.
Sure.
But I design everything. We design everything. All the metals cut out, and But yeah, we design everything.
Cool. You have a little shop now. Is the same shop? How do you do all your garage or what?
Yeah. So like I said, the shop is in Tilton, Illinois, is where we have our shop, and basically, everything's there. We closed down our storefront because we basically have a website now, which is just kbrusticsigns.com, and we run everything off there. Just because we got to the point where I was working full time, my wife's, she's a full time mom. My girl, I have 3 girls, and they're all older, so she's like a taxi basically, and taking them to everything. So we decided just to close down the storefront and just do everything online.
It's a good way to go anyway.
Oh, it's the way everything's going anymore. So it was the best idea that we had was to close the storefront, but we still have our shop.
That's dope, man.
Yeah.
That's super cool. What's up for the future?
Just we're slowly growing. We don't do anything rash. We just go with the flow.
Yeah.
But I really don't know, to be honest with you. I hope it keeps growing, and eventually, I don't want to say stop being a lineman, because I'll never stop being a lineman.
Yeah.
But I would like to, make signs like full time. Well, I guess I make them full time now, but I would like
But
to,
do it. No, I get what you're
Yeah.
saying. Like, same thing. Like I was on the tools for like 15 years, and then worked towards the office side of things, and I enjoy both. Like I'm still always a brother. I'm out here cheering the guys on, climbing. I'd still love to go climb once in a while. Somebody asked me that yesterday, like, do you miss it? And I'm like, I miss the good days. I don't miss the bad days at all. Like, I don't miss those days where you're freezing cold or soaking wet. I did it. I'm good with that. I got the stories. There are tons of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm good with where it's at too. So
Yeah.
it's nice to do something different. I think that, like, we also our generation's doing something a little different compared to our older generations. They really believe that you just get in something and you stay in it, and like you go till retirement.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to switch it up. Like, think back when you were a kid. Did you just pick one sport? Like, or did you kind of try everything? I'm going to try baseball. I'm going to try football. I'm going to try skateboarding.
Yep.
You try it once, break your board, and you're like, I'm done with this anyway. I suck.
Yeah.
I got no balance. I don't think we do enough of that as older people, enough just trying something. I'm going to try this. Maybe I just don't like it. Maybe it's not for me. Okay. Or maybe I did it. I got enough stories. It was great. I'll always be that person. I'm going to go try something different. So I like your idea of doing signs. It's cool.
Yep.
Yeah. It's kind of like what I got going on with this is same sort of thing. I just like telling stories. It's a direction I'd love to go. You know the industry, you know the guys, and you're passionate about it. So it's like, I'm going to keep making this shit for you guys.
Yeah, and I enjoy it too. And I think I found you on Instagram maybe at first, and that's one thing cool about our trade. And I think it's like going in a different direction, like you said. You got a lot of these little pop-up shops that are starting to come open, and some stick, some don't, but at least they're trying.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing. And don't give up.
No.
And if it's rough at first, just keep going at it.
Yeah, 100% agree. Anything else you'd like to chat about?
I mean, I could get into the Fried Squirrel Hat Company that we started.
Let's do it for sure.
Yeah, so last year at the International Rodeo, we were, my brother and one of my other good friends, we were wanting to basically have hats. We're like, man, we want some good hats. We're like, high quality hats.
Every lineman wants good hats.
Yeah, every lineman wants a good hat. And I'm not saying there's not good hats out there, because there are other good hats out there. But we wanted something different. And so we're like, on the way back, we're like, well, so I have an American flag that's made out of shotgun sticks that I make, like on a sign. And we were like, let's just start out with that. Let's make that hat, and because we didn't have a name.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, I'll do it. Like, so I made patches and I made hats. And then I would say, I don't know, a month later, I was pulling up to a job and there was a dead squirrel on the ground.
Yes.
And I was like kind of jokingly, I sent them a text and I'm like, Fried Squirrel Hat Company. And they're like, that's it.
Yeah, sweet.
So
I love that shit when it clicks, right?
Yeah.
Like, yes.
It did too. And then I get online, I'm checking, domains, trademarks, and, it's available. So I buy it all up, and then I get to like designing, which I do for my signs. So like when an idea comes fresh in my head, like I start like just going crazy. So I come up with all these designs, like make a mascot, just go crazy. And then, some of them stick, some of them don't. So we haven't even been in business a year yet, but I try to bring that company with us to shows like this, and just because essentially they're really attached to each other.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of cool. And then I'll kind of tell you a story. So I don't know, about 6 months ago, I get a call from a guy. His name's Joe Wilson. And he's like the founder of the World Championship Squirrel Cook-Off.
No.
Yes. So
where is this?
It's in Bentonville, Arkansas. And this guy calls me and leaves me a message, and I was just like, no way. Like, just a southern drawl,
Oh, man.
And I'm like, I gotta call this guy back.
Is this for real?
Yeah. So I call him back, and he tells me, man, we're on the Food Network and all this other stuff. They had like 8,000 to 10,000 people at their event the last year, and I was like, I'm in. And he got, he got it from the get-go, like the fried squirrel, like he knew. He's like, that's like the number one cause to outages. So he got it right off the bat. And I was like, you know what, we're going. So last weekend, we were in Bentonville, Arkansas for this cook-off. And we were, next to two cooking teams. And, yeah, we tried squirrel, and it was good.
What?
Yeah, so we had like some.
Tastes like chicken?
You know what, they made it in some, like, just, I don't know, random stuff.
Sure.
So I wouldn't say it tastes like chicken, but it was really good.
Cool.
It was definitely really good. And there was probably, I bet there was 8,000 to 10,000 people there.
I guess if you're gonna have it, that's the place to have it.
Yeah. And our hats, we just took the hat company there, and it was crazy. We almost sold out of everything we had.
Oh, that's sick. That's
yeah,
awesome.
and people were just eating it up. And I think some of the people got it,
Yeah.
and then some of them were like, fried squirrel. Do you have any fried squirrel? And we're like, no, it's what happens when a squirrel gets on a transformer or goes phase to ground. And a lot of them, then they're like, oh, we get it.
Crazy lineman.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah.
So you're doing well with that business too?
Yeah, like I said, we haven't even been in business a year, but it's doing great.
Yeah.
And we're gonna keep growing it also. We'll keep going. We'll be at the international with that too. So like I said, the KB Rustic Signs and then the Fried Squirrel Hat Company, we kind of just link them together, just because hats don't take up much space.
Yeah,
it's
pretty
not,
much. And everybody wants them.
and everybody wants them. So
and what's $20 for a hat or whatever,
Yep.
right? That's
Yep. So
awesome.
we have the Fried Squirrel designs, and then we have like some lineman designs too that go with the Fried Squirrel kind of thing.
Cool.
So
I like
yeah.
it. Awesome, man. Well, I really appreciate you coming on and talking to us. This is dope. This is what it's all about. Sharing
Yeah,
the stories.
for sure.
Man. No small creative. This is cool.
Yeah.
You want to give everyone all your info, like where they can find you, each company, yourself, how they get your stuff?
Yeah, so my name is Kylee Bott, and my email is actually Kylee, so Kylee _Bott @yahoo.com, and the sign website is kbrusticsigns.com, and then friedsquirrelhatco.com. That's for the hat company.
Deadly.
So that's how you get me.
And Instagram?
Yeah, Instagram is just Fried Squirrel Hat Co. and also KB Rustic Signs. Just type that in, you'll find us.
Awesome. Really
Yep.
appreciate you coming on.
Yeah,
bud.
thank you. It was awesome. It's nice to meet you too.
You too,
Finally.
bud. Thanks.
Yep.